Excuse me. Theme song. 3, 2, 1. Okay. Theme song did not play. All right. Theme song. 3, 2, 1. And welcome back to the Constitutionals Podcast. I'm your host, Chad White. If you didn't know, this is the premier podcast for the website, cpluscomedy.com. Like I just said, it's a website. Go there. I always forget that the camera's on and I can't make faces when I'm doing this the preamble, and I just close my eyes and put my head down as if I was just so angry. Like, oh, I gotta do this again. Episode 261, Constitutionals Podcast. What's going on? I have a lot of note-taking apps, and one of the apps I have is Notion, and that is the most intricate one that I currently use. And I have a section called I have a Notion notepad, I guess that's what they call it. I don't know what they call it, but I have an entire database that is called Watching. And it's split up into genres. It's the platforms where to watch, and then under that, it's just a true Excel table of the what to watch. So it's got three things, It's got 3 check boxes for tables: watched, rewatch, and current. And then there's a title, where to watch it, the genre, all that. And then you can filter it out into current. You can filter it out into expiring, what's expiring from the services, the TV shows, the movies, everything, watch and then rewatch. And I typically keep it on current. And then I have what shows are there and everything. And anyway, so that's how I organize on how to watch stuff and when to watch, not when to watch it, but how to watch it, and like what I'm watching right now. Because often I forget. You know, Rami is on here, and I've been watching Rami. I have been getting through very slowly but surely, but it's been on here for a minute. Same thing with This Way Up season 2. I saw season 1 when it came out, and then season 2 came out, and then I was just like, I'm not really feeling this right now. So I put that aside for the past year, but it's still been on my current list. I move other things off here, but those are the shows like I'm meaning to watch. But Yellow Jackets just came back, so I threw Yellow Jackets on there. And then also it shows that that are old. Let me look. I'm looking for a show that's old. Hold on. Fargo season 4. That's fairly old. But I had to stop halfway. I didn't have to. I wanted to stop halfway through that season. Deadwood's on there. Behind Her Eyes. That's a show I started and I did not finish. But there's things on there. It's only 28. I try to keep it below 30 because it's just hard to keep up with things. Anyway, Yellowstone was on there. All that to say is Yellowstone was on there. I've yet to start the timer, and since Yellowstone is on there, I had to watch it because I was in a cowboy mood, which is why Deadwood was on there, and I finished Yellowstone. I caught up. There were points where I was watching Yellowstone and I was doing Peloton classes. I would watch, 2 episodes of Yellowstone and do Peloton classes and just have Yellowstone like basically almost on mute. That show, I think that show's a great show. I think the character of Beth Dutton was written by a 15-year-old who has never seen what a woman even they wanted her to be badass. It still doesn't feel authentic. Versus a show that aired, I think, 2 weeks or a week after Yellowstone aired, Succession. They both started at the exact same time, and if the rumors are true, they're both ending this year. Succession's definitely ending in a couple of weeks, but if the rumors are true about Yellowstone, it'll be ending either this year or next year. And they're both about the finding an heir to the father's business. Shiv is a much better character. She's much better written, and she's like Beth. We find out why Beth is the way she is. I would say probably too late. I think you find out in season 3. And you find out why she treats one of her brothers like garbage, but it doesn't. There's no reason why she should continue to act that way, towards the world. Like, she acts like she hates the world. It's just like, it doesn't feel real for a woman her age to act like a petulant child, and it gets old real fast. Season 1, you go, oh, this is a broken woman, and I hope that things get better for her. But season 3, you're like, man, you can't still be mad at him. Like, what did this person do? What did this person do? Come on, why are you so mean? Like, she's only nice to one person, her father. No, she's nice to 2 people, her father and one of her brother's wives. And she never says anything off course to that wife. Anyway, so I finished Succession, caught up on it, baby. All right, let's do the news. Meta shut down Facebook Watch this past week. We're going through a bunch of layoffs for the entertainment industry, for the technology industry, and we are seeing things that typically would do well, well enough, I guess, for the companies during their time periods. A couple years ago when they were probably at their heights. But now, when a company needs to get rid of something that's a little bit superfluous, then they might as well. We're seeing, case in point, we're seeing BuzzFeed News is gone. Vice News is shuttering Vice News Tonight, which is their nightly show, as well as news show rather, and as well as Waypoint, which is their gaming thing, their gaming periodical. Or sister site. And now Facebook is getting rid of Facebook Watch Originals Group and the show Red Table Talk, which is hosted by Jada Pinkett Smith and Willow and Jada Pinkett Smith's mom, whose name I don't know and is not listed in this article. It just says Red Table Talk hosted by Jada Pinkett Smith. I know Facebook was very prepared to make shows for Facebook Watch. We saw just a ton of, Meta. Meta was very prepared to make shows for Facebook Watch, but we saw them try a lot. I think most notably we saw, Elizabeth Olsen had a show which was Emmy nominated, Sorry for Your Loss, and that is huge for that show to be Emmy nominated from Facebook Watch, and for this A-list actress to do this show. I think that's a huge step. And it's just the same thing for Apple TV to have Ted Lasso. I'm not going to put Sorry for Your Loss and Ted Lasso on the same level because I've never seen Sorry for Your Loss, but I saw the trailer, I read about it, and I know that show was a big stepping stone for Facebook Watch to really be taken seriously when it comes to, I did quotes, when it comes to this TV thing. I don't know if they set aside $1 billion like Apple did. I think it was $1 billion for $1 billion for I hate this word, content. I should say this. I met up with somebody who was like, hey, help me with this project. And I knew it wasn't going to be paid or anything, but he kept referring to things as content and calling himself and me a content creator. And I kept going, well, I don't think of it like that. I'm just doing this. Not that there's anything negative about it, but I just don't. There's something in this influencer-based driven world where people just calling it content, grouping things up like that, and calling it things or content. I feel takes away from its power, and you're just kind of, I could say like I've got a whole bunch of crap on my desk, and then people are just gonna be like, oh, it's just messy. I'm like, no, I mean it's a thing I have. Anyway, whatever. It's just a bunch of stuff I have. Okay, whatever. Doesn't matter. Meta is closing it down. None of the Facebook Watch originals are coming back for new seasons. Moving forward, Meta's... Oh, excuse me. Now, this comes from Variety, written by Todd Spangler. Let me get back to where I was. I don't know where I was. Meta's entertainment team is focused on creating virtual reality experiences and Meta Horizon worlds that can also be accessed across Facebook, Instagram, Messenger. That's a big downgrade. That's a huge downgrade. It's just, that's like, Spotify saying, hey, we're not doing music anymore, but we will do theme songs for your favorite shows that are old. You guys like Jag? We're going to give you a new Jag theme song. We're going to give you a new Columbo theme song. We're only going to do shows from prior to 1980. MASH. We're going to give you a new MASH. 'Cause suicide is painless. It brings on many changes. And I can take or leave it if I please. With the shutdown of Facebook Watch Originals, Mina Lefebvre, head of the development and programming for the group, is leaving the company. She joined in 2017 after serving as MTV's head of scripted development at Meta. Lefebvre reported to Ricky Van Veen, VP of Creative Strategy. Obviously, we know Meta is getting rid of jobs left and right. They laid off 11,000 people at the end of 2022. They've got to cut 10,000 jobs right now, and they're going to cut more jobs later in the year. Facebook Watch's shows included... Okay, so here we have numbers for Sorry for Your Loss. I'm on a different article right now, and I don't want to mention it, but... Sorry for Your Loss had about 75 million daily watch viewers. I think that's probably going to be a total thing. But we also had 4 original series. Kerry Washington's 5 Points. Hudda Katan's reality show Hudda Boss. Fairy tale inspired anthology series Sacred Lies. Oh, here's the thing. Okay, here's the actual number for it. Facebook Watch launched in August 2017. It has more than 400 million users globally per month, with at least 1 minute on watch, up from 50 million in the US prior to the worldwide rollout. On a daily basis, over 75 million Facebook users spent at least 1 minute on watch. Those are the Netflix things. 40 million people watched 3 minutes of one episode of Stranger Things. It's the biggest show we've ever had. They spend, on average, they spend more than 20 minutes streaming on Facebook Watch. Well, I mean, and those numbers are nothing to balk at, especially if it's an online thing. But we just have to put it into how, to numbers that people can understand. Red Table Talk was big, though. It did have 11 million followers and had an active Facebook discussion group with 600,000 members. And then there was a spinoff, Red Table Talk, the Estefans. I'm not entirely sure if this, how money was brought in for Facebook Watch. I mean, I can only assume ads, but I don't know if this VR AR thing is really going to take off for them. And we've seen the Horizon Worlds thing not do well, and it's buggy, and it's just not an interface that people are agreeant upon, but I don't know if VR is the next option for them, and they shouldn't turn so hard into this. People love the Red Table Talk, for instance. People want to hear these discussions, and then also, even look at the 600,000 Facebook group, have discussions. That's bigger than some of the most popular subreddits, Twitter groups. So they turned hard into this VR thing. They have a free app for MetaQuest called the MetaQuest Horizon Worlds, Meta Horizon Worlds, whatever. They have slamming the dumpsters, I guess. I don't know. They launched VR specials and series, including the Notorious B.I.G. Sky's the Limit, an AR concert experience. Jesus Christ in heaven. The Shacktacular Spectacular, a New Year's Eve countdown special hosted by Shaquille O'Neal. Other things I don't want to keep reading. I mean, is this a good move for them? Is this something that is going to help them in the long run? We're seeing a bunch of 15% layoffs at BuzzFeed. Lionsgate laid off 3%. Clubhouse, if you remember them, they are the app that blew up in the pandemic, mostly because everybody was shut in at home, and they had to what the company was Clubhouse was an invite-only app experience where you basically, it was like live audio. People could have their live audio chats and people could follow along. And I remember Clubhouse blew up. It was this whole big thing. Twitter, Facebook, everybody started copying them. Spotify, even with their Spotify Live app, which just recently was killed. Clubhouse blew up, and then now I think the thing that killed them, and I remember I read this story earlier this week, and I will always go back to this. The thing that killed Clubhouse is that it was invite only, and they remained that way, and they didn't open up, and they didn't bring in ads soon enough. I mean, the thing is, you want users, open up. TikTok didn't and it should have teamed up with TikTok or Twitter or something else, but in order for it to be successful, you have to have users. And if you are going to be invite only, then no one's going to use it. Snapchat shuttered its originals group last summer. YouTube does not have original productions anymore, with the exception of just a handful of things that it does. And we're seeing this again. Streaming is changing. Hey, speaking of ads, I mentioned earlier. How much money? This comes from Cord Cutters News, written by Luke Booma. How much money does Roku make from showing you ads? According to Roku, they make on average $40.67 per user every year. This comes from the first quarter 2023 earnings. Oh, in Q1, Roku grew active accounts by $71.6 million globally. Excuse me, 71.6 million globally. Sequential net adds of 1.6 million were above net adds in Q1 2022. In the U.S., our active accounts were approaching half of all broadband households. This unmatched sale is the foundation of... Okay, whatever. So Roku was pulling in about $40 per person per user for ads and stuff. That's a number that we've never seen before. But now that we have these, that's a style of number that we've seen before coming from a streaming service. Because Netflix will never mention how much it pulls in like that. Apple will never do that. HBO will never do that. Excuse me, Max will never do that. I think it's now we're going to get to a point where we have these free ad supported places, the FAST networks, the free ad supported streaming services, like Tubi, like Pluto. And I mean, even then, Pluto and Tubi, they're owned by major companies who don't have to report that type of thing, or who probably won't report that type of thing. But seeing it as a solid number, $40 per person, almost $41 per person, definitely puts into a seriousness of how much ads really mean to them. It's the number is down from the third quarter of 2022. It was at $44.01 then. Roku had about $635 million in revenue, and most of that came from ad sales versus the sale of new streaming players. I mean, so even you can have 5 Roku devices in your home. You can have 2 new ones and 3 old ones, and that doesn't really put a dent in their bottom line versus you actually using the Roku channel to watch something. Now, I do use the Roku channel, but only to watch things like the Reno 911 program that's over there now, the new versions. They bought up Quibi stuff. They need to be like you can access Samsung streaming, Samsung Free. I think that's what it's called. Samsung Free. You can access Pluto TV. You can access Tubi. You can access all of these streaming services on separate devices. Roku channel you can only use on Roku, and I mean with that, Roku channel is an app that you can download to your iPhone and your Android, but also Android phone, but also you have to go through like 3 different menus just to watch something, because it asks you multiple times, hey, do you have a Roku device? Do you not have a Roku device? Are you sure you want one? And then you finally get to be able to watch Reno 911 on your iPad, and then you have to Apple Airshare it to the TV. Airshare. That might be the title for the episode. It is just we're gonna see Roku grow. It is probably the number one consumer streaming device in and around the globe. And I don't know what these numbers mean for the long run for the others, but I do think it'll be important to have a little bit more transparency when it comes to what you're seeing, what they get for ads per user. But that's a great little breakdown. All right, let's move on to the last topic. No, second to last topic. Let me move this up really quick. Okay, so I've got one more thing before the last topic. This comes from The Hollywood Reporter, written by Winston Cho and Katie Kilkenny. Studios sold Wall Street on cost cutting, but unions are a tougher task. We're seeing a lot of layoffs, as I mentioned before, and basically, you see Warner Bros. Discovery getting rid of shows or canceling things or selling, the next Batman animated show to Amazon Prime, or selling, another show to another streaming service, even though they're still going to be producing it. And they're just trying to write off whatever or write down whatever kind of what is the word I'm looking for? They're just trying to write up, not trying to spend as much money on shows and movies as they want to, really. And that tells investors that, hey, we can still make things, but we're going to do it right, because we're not going to be able to spend as much money, and we don't want to spend as much money because we need money, or we want money rather. But because they're trying to appease investors, they're sort of pushing away the people that make the shows and the movies for them, i.e. the writers, the producers, the singers, the editors, the directors, everybody. That's what we're seeing with the Writers Guild, who said that they will go, even though they're in negotiations for new contracts with the studios, with the motion picture and television producers and all that stuff, even though they're in labor contracts and talks, and they're in negotiations, everybody, they authorize, over 90%, 95% authorization for a strike. The industry-wide belt tightening started last year as part of Warner Bros. Discovery's chase for $3.5 billion in cost savings, after saddling itself with $50 billion in debt to finance its merger. It's interesting. The EU blocked Microsoft buying Activision Blizzard, but Warner Bros. Discovery, Disney, Fox, a lot of those just eked through. Even though there was opposition to it, a lot of those just kind of eked through, which is stupid. Production executives are feeling the pressure. Budgets are getting tighter. The Late Late Show, we're seeing James Corden just ended that show this week, and it makes financial sense for that show to be axed completely and them to bring back at midnight, because it is cheaper. And as I was watching, and I'll talk about this on Late Night Lately, but as I was watching the last episode of the Late Late Show, all I could think was, this show doesn't cost that much. No offense to them, but I've seen a lot of the Late Late Show, and This show doesn't cost that much, with the exception of when they go out onto the crosswalk and they do things like they do carpool karaoke and just big budget things. Other than that, I mean, come on. During his current talks, the WGA, the first major union to negotiate with top companies this year, in discussions that will likely set a precedent for other unions, has argued that the entertainment industry has, over the long term, been on an upswing, increasing a total revenue from $155 to $220 billion in the past decade. While the industry's investment in streaming has, quote, had a short-term impact on company profits, and Wall Street has recently penalized burgeoning streamers that don't turn a profit, the companies have demonstrated time and again that they can and will capture that value created by writers, the Guild wrote in a recent report. And that is true. You know, the writer often gets doesn't get what they need and deserve in terms of the kind of the reparations when it comes to a show and movie. We're seeing big names, David Zaslav, Bob Iger. We're seeing what they make, Ted Sarandos, while people are getting laid off and take the hit or don't get the recognition. You know, I like Aga. I like Bob Iger, but he's taken home dozens of millions of dollars. I think almost a six-figure salary. Let me see. Bob Iger's salary. $27 million annually. Wow. Base salaries pay of $1 million and a bonus equal. Wow. Okay, anyway. $27 million. Let me see what David Zaslav got. David Zaslav salary. My man took home $39 million in 2022. Wow. Which is apparently down considerably from the staggering figure he hit the year prior, thanks to a massive $203 million stock option. And yet, I was laid off. We're seeing budget decreases. A major company's top production executive notes that a network used to spend $10 million to $11 million per episode, and now they want that to be $7 to $8 million. Instead of 16-hour shoot days, which is still dangerous. Now we're saying 10 to 12 hours. They're trying to do things faster, smarter, lighter, not smarter, faster and lighter. And I mean, in the long run, is this going to help out? We're going to see things that, you know, shooting things in London, shooting things in across the world. Maybe that takes a turn back. Anyway, studios have to prove that there's more to this than the money thing. It's a lot about respect. But in telling Wall Street, hey, we're going to do this cheaper and we're going to save you guys money, and in turn it's going to make us all more money because people will go see the next Spider-Man or the next Indiana Jones. Then they're telling the writer, the director, the producer, the editor, the actor that you all don't matter as much. All right, and finally, this is going to be a doozy. I haven't done a long form one like this in a minute. Popular ebooks are being updated, and it stinks. And it shows who really owns your classic literature. This comes from New York Times, written by Leji Ugwu. It's their content. You're just licensing it. If you haven't seen the news as of late, popular 20th century authors, including Roald Dahl, who wrote the Willy Wonka's Chocolate Factory. I think that's what it's called, Willy Wonka's Chocolate Factory. R.L. Stein and Agatha Christie, because it's not Charlie and Chocolate Factory. It's Willy Wonka's Chocolate Factory. Or Willy Wonka. I don't know. Anyway, R.L. Stein and Agatha Christie. and they're going back and changing the things, small context within the literature itself. A Kindle reader of Roald Dahl's Matilda watched a reference to Joseph Conrad disappear. Owners of Stein's Goosebumps books lost mentions of schoolgirls' crushes on a headmaster and a description of an overweight character with at least 6 chins. What a great description. Racial and ethnic slurs were snipped out of books and everything. And while it's fine to be sensitive to people's today, to the world of today, you're, especially if you own a digital version of a book, you bought that thing and you are entitled to, I don't want to say entitled, but you should, but yeah, fine. You are entitled to having the actual, the true, the part, the intent of what the writer wrote down. Now, this kind of goes along the lines of, and unfortunately, I'm not saying they were right, but this kind of goes along the lines of what Fox News was talking about with the Dr. Seuss books when they changed all of the, well, hold on, they just took those out of print though. Dr. Seuss out of print. They just took those out of print, if I'm correct. Yeah, 6 Dr. Seuss titles deemed hurtful and wrong were taken out of print. Includes The Cat's Quizzer, If I Ran the Zoo, and To Think That I Saw It on Mulberry Street, Scrambled Egg Super, McGilligan's Pool, and On Beyond Zebra. Now, so those were taken out of print because of the racial things in there. Let me see what his daughter says. Let's see. She speaks out. No one has ever tried to hide them or dismiss them. They're out there, and with all my heart, I wish they were not out there. Okay, so she wants them gone. But that's different. They're not changing what those books say. But the digital versions are being changed. Now that's happened before. We've seen it happen before. If you remember back in 2017, this comes from Collider, written by Matt Goldberg. Sony wanted to provide clean versions of its movies for home entertainment. So movies like Step Brothers, Easy A, Ghostbusters, Grown Ups, Moneyball, Spider-Man movies. They wanted to take those from the PG and edit those down to PG. Excuse me. They want to take those from PG-13 and re-edit those for to PG for a clean version for family-friendly viewing. I mean, even if it's PG. They wanted to release 24 total movies with the clean versions for no charge for people who already own them digitally on iTunes, Vudu, and Fandango Now, which is now just Vudu. So iTunes and Vudu. They want those edited. It's basically the airplane versions of movies. The stuff with all the sex scenes cut out, the dirty words cut out. And guess what? People didn't want that to happen. People got so mad. Seth Rogen was one of them. This comes from The Hollywood Reporter and Pamela McClintock and Mia Gallupo. Same year, June 2017. Seth Rogen criticized Sony's plans to release the clean versions of films. He said, "Holy bleep. Please don't do this to our movies. Thanks." It makes me, and then here's a quote from Sony's home entertainment group. The clean version allows viewing for wider audience, giving people the chance to watch their favorite films together. Films of all ratings can be adapted to clean versions. However, the extent of such adaptation can vary. Adaptation, excuse me. That is such a tone deaf way to change a book, to change a movie from its original intent of being just a thing to entertain or inform. It is just mind-numbingly stupid. That is different from taking it out of print because it had a bunch of racial epithets or depictions of people. I remember specifically one of those Dr. Seuss books has a depiction of an Asian person, specifically a Chinese person, I believe. And it is just, I was going to describe it and then I realized I should not, but it should not be out there. Same thing with, this is not cleaning up anything, but it is taking away those statues, those Confederate statues, or renaming. I saw on PBS NewsHour, there's a story about military bases being renamed from Confederate generals to people of color and women who have served in the military. And that's great. I love that idea. That's the most beautiful thing I've heard of all week. Anyway, a couple of days later, this comes from Entertainment Weekly, Nick Romano. Sony Entertainment backtracks on Clean movie plan after director backlash. I believe, along with Seth Rogen, a lot of people, including Judd Apatow, spoke out about it. And it looks like the Directors Guild of America did the same thing. So that was gone. So they were going to do that. And no, I don't think anyone was for it. I can't even see, I don't see the reason. I don't want to, if I'm going to watch, if I have a 10-year-old and they want to see Step Brothers, I'll show them Step Brothers. And I'll just go, hey, don't say these words. You have to be a good parent. I mean, it just doesn't make sense. Anyway, they discontinued it. But that doesn't mean the practice is still not happening. This comes from Brian Welk over at IndieWire. This is from November 2022. Mark Wahlberg's Father Stu resurrected as PG-13 movie for December re-release. I didn't even know this was happening. I didn't know Father Stu was an R-rated movie. And it's called Father Stu Reborn. It's the same movie. The new film is called Father Stu Reborn, while the original film, released in April of 2022, ahead of the Easter holiday, was dinged with an R rating for language throughout. The new cut still features language and accident scene, sexual references, and some violence and smoking, which is what they're saying is fine for a family. It opened December 9th. And I mean, so this is a Sony movie. Wow. Of course, they still want to do this. Oh my God. It is so stupid. Rosalind Ross wrote and directed Father Stu, and it stars Mark Wahlberg, and the true story of Father Stuart Long, who went from an ex-con boxer to reinventing himself as a priest and finding redemption. It also stars Mel Gibson, Jackie Weaver, and Teresa Ruiz. I don't understand why this is all the information they have. I don't understand why this movie was recut and released for Christmas. I don't know if it was a play for the Oscars, but this does not help your case in any form or fashion. And I think just the way, maybe, let me see, Box Office Mojo. I'm going to type in Father Stu, and I want to see if it even performed. First of all, I want to see if it's in here. Okay, so it is. I mean, only the original's in here. Okay, so it was released April 13th originally, and was in theaters for a little over a month and 7 days until May 20th. In 6 markets, domestically it brought in $20.8 million, and worldwide it brought in $21.5 million. Father Stu Reborn released December 9th. It had a domestic rollout, and it only brought in $205,000. This does not help your case when it comes to wanting to recut something for family audiences. And also, if this is not the movie to do it. I don't think family audiences are really running out to see a Mel Gibson movie. I wonder what the idea is here for that. That doesn't scream Christmas movie to me. But censoring things like this doesn't help. And it's not going to make the movie better, and it's not going to make you earn any more money. Imagine if, let's see, Spider-Man No Way Home was re-released in theaters. And Avatar was re-released in theaters. At what Titanic was re-released in theaters multiple times. None of those movies were retouched or redone. In fact, I think even Spider-Man No Way Home had more scenes in it. I don't see the point in doing this. And really, do you want people to come and see movies again but differently? Even the people who have done it regret it. Steven Spielberg regrets it. This comes from Variety, written by Zach Sharf. He regrets editing Guns out of E.T., says, no film should be revised for today's standards. That was a mistake. In the original 1982 theatrical cut of the movie, you'll remember when there's a bunch of police on the street in E.T. and Elliot's neighborhood, and they're chasing the kids with with guns, as police do because they're hunting down an alien. I believe in the re-edit of the movie, they replaced the guns with walkie-talkies. Yes, they did. I was correct. Spielberg said, that was a mistake. I should have never done that. E.T. is a product of its era. No film should be revised based on lenses we are now, either voluntarily or being forced to peer through. Yeah. He continues, E.T. was a film that I was sensitive to the fact that the federal agents were approaching kids with firearms exposed, and I thought I would change the guns into walkie-talkies. Years went by, and I changed my own views. I should have never messed with the archives of my own work, and I don't recommend anyone do that. You think George Lucas thinks the same thing? Because the people miss the puppets in Star Wars. This is a guy who's seen... I've seen 7 Star Wars movies. 1, 2, 3. I've seen the original 6. Excuse me. I've seen the original 3. Then I saw the prequels. No, I saw the prequels first, and then I saw the original 3. And then I saw Rise of Skywalker. The first one with Rey, and then I saw the one on Andor, Rogue One. Yeah, I really tried to be a Star Wars person. I do like the bat. Look, Rogue One was great. Rogue One was great. The Bad Batch was great. Clone Wars was great. The TV show. There you go. All our movies are kind of a signpost of where we were when we made them, what the world was like, and what the world was receiving when we got those stories out there. So I really regret having it out there. He's right. They are signal posts of what they were of the time period. You can go back and say they treated women poorly, in Western films, like in Westerns, and yeah, they sure did. But there are a lot of great Westerns where women are treated fairly well. Same thing for indigenous people. There's some Westerns where they're treated really, really well, and there's movies that are starring black people. Sidney Poitier in the 50s and 60s and 70s, and what's the one where he was the Sidney Poitier? I'm thinking of a movie. Teacher movie, To Sir with Love. That movie, 1967. He was at a school in England, and they were all it was a movie where it's like all these white students looking at this black teacher. It's a great movie. I saw it. Oh my God. I watched To Sir with Love. This is the kind of luck I have. I watched To Sir with Love on Turner Classic Movies. And I think 2 days later, Sidney Poitier died. And I was like, I just saw that movie. You think I did it? I'm going to watch The Apprentice later. I'm just kidding. Oh my God. That's very funny. But we shouldn't go back and change things. You can acknowledge that they're different to what we think now, but going back and changing things really hurts what they are to history. Because if we go back and change things, then when we go back in the history book and say, that's essentially what Southern schools, Texas schools in Texas, schools in Florida, that's what they're saying with, history books. Slavery didn't exist. No one was ever racist. We're fighting for America. Yeah. That's it. Don't change anything. Listen, if you like what you heard here, head to the website, cpluscomedy.com, where you can see me talk to famous people such as Luke Moniz, Kurt Fuller, Jenny Zagrino, India de Beaufort, Lyric Lewis, Stephanie Weir, Ron Funches, Craig Ferguson, Maria Bamford, Jimmy Pardo. I talk to people. Matt Bronger, Kyle Kinane. I talk to people. Sometimes it's on video. What else? If you want to see a video version of this podcast, youtube.com/cpluscomedy. As well as the other video versions of podcasts, including Late Night Lately, the late night show. It's a late night podcast where I talk about late night shows, and I also have LinkedIn Logs, which is the leading business podcast where I try to be a leaked influencer / OnlyFan, and the interviews and all that stuff. News Time is on youtube.com/cpluscomedy. It's like The Daily Show, except way less funny. Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok @cpluscomedy. Me @ChatBlackWhite. Thank you for listening. I appreciate it. Rate, review. Tell your friends about this. Goodbye.